From the beginning, the images we have created have stood like mile markers on the road of human progress. What once was is now because artists made it so. They captured a moment and made it eternal. Where did they get such power? Well, it was given to them, passed down through the ages, master to student, each building upon the other. John Stobart, one of the most accomplished artists of our time, says, "I don't think the greatest works have yet been done." And it's true, but only if the secrets are given to yet another generation. The first secret is this: it is not in the hand, it is in the eye. Follow us and we'll show you that once you learn to look at the world differently, it becomes a different world, one in which nature becomes the greatest teacher of all. It was painting from nature that attracted some of the greatest artists who ever lived to Honfleur, France. John Stobart takes us there and paints a 16th century building to demonstrate the subtleties of texture.
The reason I've always wanted to come to Honfleur was that this was one of the principal birthplaces of landscape painting. And many of the famous, well, nearly all the famous Impressionists came here.
Honfleur is very popular, you know. Everybody from Europe come here to visit Honfleur and know why all the painters, all the Impressionists came here.
It's just fascinating for me to see the place that they were in. You were saying that Monet painted here in this square?
He painted the veil.
I've always been absolutely fascinated by ports like this. This is, I mean, look at all these fishermen working, and the ships and the sea and ports have always fascinated me. And I'm in my element here. This is a wonderful place. And it's very nice that you were able to come and tell us about it a little bit. Now, this is all old too. It hasn't changed, has it? Yeah.
Only people change, but not Honfleur. Yes.
Wonderful. And I hope it stays that way.
Yes.
Because this is its charm. Narrow houses and...
Narrow houses, yes. It was a problem because in the Middle Age, when there was a fire, as the houses was very narrow, when a house burned, the next one burned also. So it was very difficult to stop the fire.
I love this inner harbor because this never gets the tide here. It's always the same.
Yes.
And the lock over here controls the water, so it makes sure that the level is always the same here. But this building here, which of course fascinates me because it's obviously the oldest building in the place.
That's the lieutenancy.
The lieutenancy.
Yes, it was gateway, Caen gateway.
And everybody going to Caen had to pay in the gateway to go all the way to Caen. Oh, I like that building. That is. I think that would make
a good painting.
I think that's going to be the painting.
Yes.
I think that's. What I'm doing here is trying to mix a color exactly as it is before me, which is the color of the water. What is absolutely fascinating to me about Honfleur is that it was really the birthplace of landscape painting in many respects. The Barbizon school with Corot and Harpigny and Daubigny, they followed Boudin, and most of the artists in Paris that were working and were being excited about the new move to paint from nature that Eugène Boudin had had really started and got going. It was Boudin that really moved into Impressionism and away from the sort of studio paintings to the outdoors. And that was the exciting bit, that where painting took a complete new turn. And this was where it all happened, right here. I think what attracted them is the same thing that attracts me here. And that is that there's a terrific sense of vibrancy here, where the sea is here, the sky is scudding about, the little boats are leaving port and arriving in port, the fishermen are all doing things. It's a very, very charming place, plus the fact that nothing has been changed here. It's all beautifully old, and there's no modern things here at all. It's got a terrific lot of charm, and I think this was the same, just the same in 1850 as it is today. We're actually looking at a myriad here of greys. The sky is almost grey. The water's not far off grey. There's not a lot of colour here, and this is what happens in the middle of the day. You don't get an awful lot of colour. But the temperature of the colour is something the artist has to look for and has to be aware of. You've got to be aware of whether it's warm or cold. And that's right in front of you. The beginning artist really needs to understand the business of warm and cool colors and needs to recognize the difference between the two. Because in using these colors, this is where the mastery takes place. This is where the form takes place. Ice-cold colors are usually associated with blue, maybe a little green, and warm colors such as the sun would be the red and the yellow. And these, when you look at an object, you can discover this for yourself by just looking at things that are in the sun, and they're all warmed up. Particularly when the sun goes down at night, you get tremendous colors appearing then. I think in my own work, the best example of the warm and cool is in the moonlight scenes, where I have a cool glow of the moonlight, which is mainly greeny blue, very dark, not light, not really bright, and then have the artificial light from another source flooding into that. Suddenly the thing lives. It's a wonderful way of creating a mood to mix the warm and the cool light, and it's the contrast between the two that brings it alive. Anybody interested in art? And any of you interested in art? Do you like drawing?
Not drawing, but
painting.
No.
But you've never painted, right?
No. Painted schools.
Paint sometimes? Yeah. Now we've got almost a pink roof, but when I get on here, I'm going to have some real good color in this. And I want the color to split up on the canvas. I want it to split up. I want to mix it like I'm mixing a souffle or something. I got to mix this so that it's little bits of white and little bits of red and little bits of everything in it, so that there's a bit of character in the actual paint itself that's going on here. And I can come down a little bit with that roof to about there.
When did you first start painting?
When did I first start in my life, you mean?
Yeah.
When I was about 15. You can travel all over the world and work out in the sunshine and appreciate all these, well, all the things that you're appreciating here. It's a lovely spot.
How do you get the shade just right?
It comes with experience more than anything else. Just put it in very quickly and see how that went in quite well. Just a basic, simple shape. Really just a question of observing and looking at it and trying one color, and if it's not right, you just try another and you keep changing it. And this is the beauty of it. It looks very difficult, doesn't it? But it really isn't when you've been doing it a lot. If you really wanted to do this, you would find that you'd very quickly learn how to do it. Because your enthusiasm would help you. Anything that you like doing, you get good at, don't you? When you like doing something, then you get good at it pretty fast. Well, it's the same with painting. Yes, you can even get paid to do it. Wouldn't that be fun? Yeah.
How long would it take you to paint a picture?
Pardon?
How long would it take to paint a picture like that?
Paint this about, well, today it'll take about 3 hours. I don't know what that is in front of me. It looks like a wall, but it's got grass growing in it and all sorts of weird stuff on here. See, when you come and visit, you're going to be taking photographs, I'm sure, some of you. But I'm doing a painting, and I'll be able to take this home and be able to remember this place, and I'll have something of value to remember it by. And that's what an artist has over everybody else. They can go and create something that'll last forever and give them pleasure forever. The color is very gray still. It's not hot red. It's not a hot red roof. But it's got a wonderful sense of sunlight because of the cast shadows on these surfaces. And then I'm going to whip the sky in. Well, thank you very much, by the way, for stopping. It's been fun meeting you all.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Have fun. Keep on with the drawing if you want to do it. Okay, I'm going to put the sky in because I want to see the silhouette of blue behind everything and to see that it fits. The sky is pretty dark. It's very, very bright. There we are. That's looking... See, as soon as I do that and get rid of all this light color underneath, it gives it a sense of light. I've already got a sense of light in there now. That's fairly close to where I want to be, that color there. Amazing how it takes shape very quickly. And what I'm going to do now is draw in the slope of that building, which is like that. I don't want to worry about all these little bits that I've left. I can handle all that later. Beginning to look good now. A little bit of warmth in the distant sky. Don't want that too blue. It's getting right into the atmosphere, and as the atmosphere thickens towards the horizon, That looks good now. Now this color down here being that color, I'm going to put a dab of that up here to test whether it's lighter. Yes, it is. You see it's quite a bit lighter down here. But you've got to give the sky a dome effect like that. The sky is a big dome. And I don't know what I'm going to do with all this up here yet, but that'll come in later. This piece on the right that I'm doing right now, this is the canal gate. What's happening here, this harbor doesn't have a tide. It doesn't go up and down. There's the bridge going up now, so we must be very near to high tide. But as soon as it's high tide, they open the lock gate so that fresh water can come in from the other part of the harbor, which is just out of my view. That means that the tide in the outer harbor is level now with the tide in the inner harbor. There goes the boat. M.Y. Wayward, whatever that means. People always call their boats such funny names. I don't know where they get them from, but... I'm putting in a red flag here that's fluttering in the breeze. I guess it's a tricolor, isn't it? Black on black, that is. Now, black boats are not the greatest color to paint, but the older boats, many of them were black. They were just painted black. Now I'm going to put the yellow line and the white line along those. Coming along quite well. Now what I'm trying to do here is get some texture built up into this stone wall. Very, very old building. As the paint gets drier underneath, the new paint is pulled off the brush because it tries to stick to the other earlier paint. And it's really working quite well today. As a young artist, you've got to really sit back and watch skies and see how the clouds form. If you watch them, they flick about and they separate and then they come together, and if you watch that long enough and you go out and observe them, you'll learn about them. The clouds that are there at the moment are a little bit ordinary, and they don't, if I painted them exactly as they are, it wouldn't help the composition. I think what I need is a horizontal there and a horizontal there. Now that will focus attention on this. So I'll put on my sky hat now, and yes, look at that, what that does already. That livens up that piece there. I'll worry about where the sun is going to be coming from. The sun is behind me, so this is the bottom edge of a cloud, but I virtually want that pointing right at that. There we are. Suddenly, this looks much, much better just with that cloud there. Now this particular cloud that I'm doing right now is well back. So I'm going to put a bit of warmth in it because there's a lot of atmosphere between me and that cloud. Now Constable, for instance, used to go out and do sky studies only. He spent many, a tremendous proportion of his time just going out and painting skies from life, and that's what the student should do. To learn about skies, you've got to actually go out and paint them from life. That's where it all happens. What I'm doing, I'm basically putting together almost a jigsaw puzzle here of different pieces to see that they properly fit the format that I've got. Now I'm almost there, and each shape is a different color, and so it's a matter of just building up simple shapes. It's not very difficult, this. It's quite easy, this part of it. But you've got to make sure that all these shapes fit together. In the beginning, the young artist absolutely has to look for very simple subjects. You will lose your enthusiasm very quickly if you go out and you look and find a very complicated subject that you think is terrific and you want to do it, and it would make a wonderful painting. You've got to say no to that. You've got to start, and you've got to walk before you can run. You cannot try these very complicated, difficult, detailed subjects. You've got to look for something simple and work your way up. And this interesting way for the young person or the person beginning to think about whether it's too difficult for them or not is just simply to count the shapes in front of you. Now right in front of me here is a block. I don't know quite what it's for. I think it's to sit on. It's got 3 shapes in it, the side, the end and the top, and then the ground that it's sitting on. 4, if you like. Now we move over to my painting, and look how many shapes we've got here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 18, 19, there must be 1,000 shapes in there. You need to be absolutely simple. A box on the ground, a plate with 6 eggs on it, that's a good one to do. You've got to start absolutely at 0 and work your way up. Eugene Boudin, I absolutely adore his work because it has this terrific signature of his work. People on the beach, skies, very, very impressionist and yet pure Boudin. He said, in one of the statements he made, he said that 2 brushstrokes from nature are worth a whole day's hard work in a studio. Now, doesn't that tell you something?